Hey guys, welcome back. I am just going to kind of jump right into this one because this one kind of is a little bit more personal because of this person testified today. If you missed it, the IO Tillett Wright testimony came today in the way of the deposition that was already pre-recorded. I'm going to play you what he testified to in this deposition about what happened. You know, the whole phone game. Let you what he has to say. And then I'm going to highlight and rewind the tape and show you how this person behaved to a fellow Johnny Depp fan, the person that so many channels use their content. I have given shouts out to endlessly. So many other people have, is that Brian fella, incredibly average. You're going to see him. You've seen me use his content. I asked him a couple years ago. You've seen it. You published in online articles. You've seen it used in like almost like news snippets, if you will. Like, this man's content has been out for 2 years, and he is one of the very first people that did some of the most amazing work. And guess who targeted him? Guess who tried to harass him and try to intimidate him offline? Yeah. All right, then. So here we go. This is what he said today about what happened.
With respect to a telephone call you received from Amber.
Sure. I was in New York. I was there visiting family. I was in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. I was walking down Manhattan Avenue, and I got, I believe, a text message from Amber that said something to the effect of, like, "Can you talk?" And so I called, and I was walking down the street as this happened. She put me on speakerphone, so I was talking to both of them. He just stopped by to pick up some of his stuff, and he has a theory that he either he wants to ask you about, or and I said, okay, sure. And hello, Johnny, like, you know. And I think it was he said or she said, Johnny thinks that you and I together defecated on his pillow. I think the words used were shit on his pillow. So I started laughing, and I was laughing, she was laughing, and when I realized that he was serious, I was like, okay, look, you know, first of all, I wasn't there that day, and so he.
Okay, so just remember this. Johnny has gotten the message about, remember the shitgate, turd herd, you know, the poop, the log laying on the sheets, okay, that she tried to blame on the dogs. So when he comes in and he's like, you know, I think it was the turd that broke the marriage's back. But so it calls IO to say, oh, Johnny thinks that we did it. And then IO's testifying here, I wasn't even there. So I wasn't even there. So let's try to go down both paths. If I wasn't there, then why the hell would Amber call him to as they say, as a witness that it wasn't her or anybody else there that day? Right? What does that make any damn sense when Raquel, who lives right down the damn hall, who lives literally right down the damn hall, that went to Coachella with her, you couldn't have invited them over and been like, all right, we didn't do this, let's stick with me here. Does that make you? He's saying I was not there. Let's just hear that again.
You know, first of all, I wasn't there that day, and so he got very agitated by the fact that she and I thought it was funny, and he started to get more and more agitated, and I could hear him walk away from the phone.
I don't know why somebody wouldn't find it funny if somebody took a dump on your damn bed. We've got the maid that took a picture of it, the Kevin that Murphy that was there, the house manager that was like, boss, you don't need to come over this day, because remember, she was gone and he wanted to come get some of his stuff, and he was like, this is not a good time, why not? And he's like, oh, it's turd herd, you know, has ran through here and dropped a nugget on your sheets, you know. No, he's saying, oh, the pillow. So yeah, so there's that. I mean, and then they're laughing about it, think it's funny. Yeah, I think that pissed me off too.
He came clomping back down the stairs, and I heard like a noise, and then the phone dropped. And
remember, he's on the phone, so he hears a, and then somehow he knows the phone is dropped. From New York.
He said,
The New York to California telepathy must be amazing. We don't have that shit down here in Tennessee. I actually have to see it with my own eyes. And no, a phone just fell out of somebody's hand. You know what I mean?
Said to her, "Oh, you think I hit you? You think I fucking hit you? What if I peel your fucking hair back?"
Oh, God.
And then I heard the phone drop again, and then I heard her scream. I remember her screaming. And I hung up the phone, and I called Raquel immediately because I know that she lives one door away, and her and her boyfriend Josh, who's a big dude, would be able to get there the fastest.
Now, see, Raquel's one door away, but she's called somebody in New York that wasn't even there, apparently. He's saying, let me correct that. He's saying he wasn't even there.
And I called her, texted her right away, and I hung up with her and immediately called 911 in New York. And then I called a friend of mine in LA who I knew had met Amber a number of times, and I think I may have placed a second call to NYPD. Now I'm all frazzled and I don't remember, but I think I called NYPD.
Mr. Waldman made some statements.
Called twice. Now it's saying he might have called twice. We got this dude boo-hooing 6 years later. We got her over here with sourpuss face. But remember what they played whenever she was giving this testimony 3 months after all this shit happened? She laughed, rolled her eyes, chewing on a chocolate bar, whatever the hell it was. Now we got these two took the same acting class. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I'm just gonna highlight and remind everybody who we're dealing with here, because remember, I don't know. I think sometimes I think that Hollywood, we need to rename that shit as a bubble butt. I don't know, but these people seem to think that because they've been getting away with shit forever, or they don't think people talk. Or they think, oh, this won't last more than a month or two. Here we are 6 years later. If any of the shit's going to catch up to them. But just like with her deposition back in August of 2016, where she wasn't crying and looked like she'd been sucking on a lemon, she was laughing, telling him, "Oh, he's dramatic." As dramatic as she's being right now. Now we got this mofo. It's all like, I come up in, I went, okay, this is what this person is capable of. This is that Brian fellow who I was mentioning earlier, his videos. He did one. I actually highlighted this, I believe, in another video, but I don't care. I'm going to go back over it today, okay, because I don't give a shit. But this is, remember, he uploaded this. Look at this, over 2 years ago, okay? And this is what, Tillett Wright did to that Brian fella, incredibly average. You ready, everybody? Everybody got your chair pulled up, get your popcorn, get your mega pint. Here we go.
To Io and Raquel. I have never tagged Io on social media, nor do I encourage others to do so. However, recently, since Amber's audio confessions of being abusive have been made public, he posted to his Instagram citing my Twitter page and YouTube channel, calling me an idiot, sick, saying I and others like me have a mental illness and that I'm probably on.
Oh, now we're trying to belittle and berate somebody and accuse them of having a mental illness. I mean, isn't all these people up there trying to insinuate that Johnny Depp's homophobic and using LGBTQ stuff? You know what they're doing behind the scenes, though. This person themselves
Made public, he posted
is using that to berate and belittle someone.
To his Instagram citing my Twitter page and YouTube channel, calling me an idiot, sick, saying I and others like me have a
mental illness. This is that Brian fella's Twitter. It says people like this guy who made an entire YouTube account investigating the situation using Instagram geotags as evidence, starting avalanches of hatred towards witnesses in a legitimate lawsuit. These people are sick and should be ashamed of their meddling. This is IO. Like a good person with good intentions, so I'm going, wait a minute, like a good person with good intentions, so I'm going to respond to you as I have dozens of times now to others. Remember, Brian never tagged IO in anything. Oh, there it is. You say. So, but how this response is coming is like, I'm going to respond to you. Brian didn't never ask for your damn response. So let's just go ahead and start with the facts here, since all y'all seem to like to make up your own. You seem like a good person with good intentions, so I'm going to respond to you as I have dozens of times now to others to tell you that I'd never lied. Every single thing I attested to was corroborated by phone records, police records, flight manifests, and witness accounts, every single thing. The person on YouTube working so hard to discredit me is spinning lies into drama for views. There is zero evidence that I lied ever, but he spun some amateur sleuthing and Instagram geolocations into evidence so he could get a following on YouTube. Yeah, that's why Brian does all this. You don't know anything about Brian. This dude, I've been waiting for Incredibly Average to upload a video over all this shit, because the last real one he did was about 2 years ago, and they are still used today. They were that good. He is likely on the payroll, accusing now Incredibly Average of being on the payroll. Remember, this is the same people in court right now. Amber Heard testifying that she thinks there's a PR smear campaign and all this other bullshit. You think I'm on a payroll? Do you think I'm part of some kind of PR smear? I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, Tennessee. I guarantee you ain't nobody paying me for my opinions. I wish. I'll link some donation shit down below. Okay, all y'all pay me for this shit. You want to. But it ain't Johnny Depp. Because he's been served. Listen to this shit. He has been served a cease and desist and warned that he faces litigation if he doesn't stop spreading lies about me. Another one. There is no evidence that I was somewhere else. The YouTube idiot has no evidence. Another one. So much mental illness behind these keyboard warriors, but the damage is the same. Maybe we all hound Instagram and Twitter until they change policies around dog piles and crusaders like this that cost people their lives. It's time to change the internet. Remember, Amber Heard's defense is freedom of speech.
Mental illness, and that I'm probably on the payroll. He also made his way over to Twitter.
Added him. This is that Brian fellow. This is Incredibly Average. Man, this is the last time I'll say it before I serve you with your own lawsuit. I didn't lie. Here is my phone record. 911 calls. United States phone records are recorded at GMT 316 is 1116, 323 is AH 512 is Rocky, 415 is Lauren, who I asked to call 911 locally. Oh, he's about to rip this shit apart, and we're going to let it play because IO testified today, and this is who she went after. And don't let anybody fool you who these people really are behind the scenes. The same people crying victim are the same assholes and bullies that go after people that do actually legitimate journalism. Wrote 3 books, my ass.
To openly threaten me with a lawsuit, then soon after found his way to my DMs to send me a long message further threatening me, but also offering.
There we go. Brian, I get that you think you're onto something and you're defending someone you adore. But what you did with me was fucked up and out of line. Everything I've ever said in this whole fiasco has been true. You don't, cannot, and will not know the full ins and outs of the situation. Hell, let me pause for dramatic effect. I don't even, and I knew them both intimately. Referring to knowing the in and outs of the situation, I don't even. And I knew them both intimately. This nasty mess is between them. Really? Go tell that to the rest of the world right now. Let it be between them. Let the courts decide. Oh, jury's going to. And I pray that whatever the truth is, it comes out and the right person gets their due. I've been subpoenaed, so I will testify to the truth as I saw it, no matter who the truth benefits or hurts, because that's my duty by law. In the interim, the facts remain. I was a witness, not a party to this. Witness, wait a minute, did they just testify in court? They never witnessed Johnny Depp ever put his hands on anyone? Didn't they just testify to that? Witness to what? You didn't witness them throwing down a phone. You were in fucking New York. They were in California. Tell me how that shit works. Nikola Tesla, you got the time travel machine? Could you let us all know about it? Because I know I'd like to jet back about a year and get some winning lottery tickets. Thank you very much. Not a party to this, and everything I swore to was true. I was everywhere. I was everywhere. I said I was. Nowhere I said I wasn't. Really, well, he about to dig into this shit. And I never been paid a dime by either of them. You just lived in Johnny Depp's house for fucking free. I'd say that's pretty damn giving. You accuse me of all that shit publicly based on flawed, incomplete information available to you publicly was wrong. You'll never be able to undo that. But now that you have seen all the evidence that I've said I had all along, you can take it down and at least try to make it right. Who in the hell are you, the public probate police, telling people to shut up? Miss, and your friend over here running with her freedom of speech, First Amendment shit. That's ironic. The lawyers tell me not to talk to you, but I insisted that you are all human beings who ultimately want the truth and for honest, good people to prevail. Now that you've seen the facts and the errors in your reporting, if you don't want to be an honorable person, so there's a little veiled, underhanded insult trying to say he's not an honorable person who responds to new information and are in fact only in it for the followers or their motives. Again, I go back. I thank God Brian is finally getting millions of views on his videos. They sat there for 2 years and didn't have what 50, 60,000. That dude deserves as many damn subs as fucking PewDiePie if you can talk about the daggum Johnny Depp shit. Okay, look at this shit. You will be served with a cease and desist and a slander suit. Really? I wonder how that's going. I don't think I've ever heard Brian saying he's been served with anything, I-O. This is not a joke. Well, no shit, it's not a joke. You made it a joke. This is my life, most of which I've spent fighting for the underdog. But yeah, and behind the scenes, you're sending DMs threatening them and telling them to shut their mouths. Underdog. Fight for what you believe in, Brian, but don't take out good people in the process. And I'm gonna then I'm gonna shut up, let Brian do his thing.
Bring up some rather enlightening information. Coming from someone who, with his articles and outspoken nature on social media platforms, has actively campaigned to convince the world that Johnny Depp is an abuser, I find it odd that now he's saying something like he doesn't even know the ins and outs of the situation, and that we should let this nasty mess be between them, and that he prays that whatever the truth is, that it comes out and the right person gets their due. So he spent nearly 4 years trying to convince the world and anyone who would listen that he knew exactly who the abuser was, insulting and convince the world it comes out and the right person gets their due. So he spent
but we're gonna pause, read these bitches. Look at this. January of 2000, what is this? 2000, it can't be 2008. 2018. January 8th, 2018. Remember that shit. Where was all the solidarity for abused women when Amber Heard was getting dragged as a gold digger? Ain't nothing gonna go. Very happy it's happening now and that it's trendy. But it also makes me sad to still hear that deafening silence ring. You ain't hear no deafening shit today, are we? Go look on TikTok at all the people making videos about this damn trial, and you're going to see just how loud this is reverberating through the world. Drag.
Nearly 4 years trying to convince the world and anyone who would listen that he knew exactly who the abuser was.
You have to be kidding me with this bullheaded garbage from the comfort of your armchair. How do you not see that you are the problem? I'm calling people problem. A woman provides photos, videos, and witnesses, and people like you still deny it based on what? Barf. Sit down. Go away. Sit down and go away, huh?
Insulting anyone who questioned the contradictions in Amber's story, and even shaming witnesses who lived.
But no, a neighbor asked a doorman and talked to TMZ, and that is headline news and serves as evidence, dear neighbor. Shame on you. This is back, look, 2016, June 6, 2016. Anybody keeping up? She went and filed May. A neighbor asked a doorman and talked to TMZ. Oh, yeah. Well, guess what else TMZ was given and released? Guess what they just tried to imply in court today, Ohio? Did you not catch that? Did you not catch what they tried to imply that it was Amber that sent you that TMZ video, implying that you might have been the one that released it, sold it to TMZ? Did you not catch that? You don't think they'll throw everybody under the bus to save their own ass? Keep it up.
Lived in the building who have since testified to what they saw, but now, well, he just doesn't know. He would continue to tell me to take down my content to make things right, that the lawyers have told him not to talk to me, but if I didn't want to be an honorable person, I'd be hit with a cease and desist and a slander suit before wrapping things up by telling me to fight for what I believe in, but don't take out good people in the process. So, I'm going to take his advice and keep fighting for what I believe in. So here's the snag I mentioned moments ago. Io testified and has repeatedly stated that he called 911 in the split second immediately after the call to Amber disconnected. He was kind enough to provide portions of phone records and his 911 call. The problem is, these, along with other witness testimony, show this to be a lie. Let's start with the witness testimony that disproves this. Raquel Pennington testified that on the night of May 21st, she received a text from Amber asking her to come over at 8:06 p.m. Upon receiving the text, Raquel testified she went immediately over.
Now, remember what Io just testified in that deposition, that he's the one that called Raquel, because he knew that she lived next door and had big old domestic mail or whatever, just plain old mail, whatever that officer said. That was hilarious. Damn, I can't think of it. That's what he testified to, that he called her Raquel Pennington, remember? And now she's saying in hers, I was in the condominium with Josh and I received a text from Amber. Well, I mean, both could be true, I guess.
She says that it took her less than a minute to retrieve a key and enter penthouse 3 where Johnny and Amber were, placing Raquel in penthouse 3 around 8:07. According to all three testimonies, the alleged assault and the cry for Io to call 911 and the phone disconnecting occurred sometime after the text to Raquel but before she entered the penthouse. This means in order for that to be truthful testimony, Io's immediate split-second 911 call to save Amber's life would have had to have occurred at or around 8:06 to 8:07, but according to his records, he would not call 911 for another 10 minutes. I don't know about you, but that just doesn't feel very immediate. For example, if someone broke into my house and stabbed me, and my buddy said, man, you need to get to the hospital immediately, I don't think the right response would be for me to say, absolutely, just let me finish the last 10 minutes of the office. Unless, of course, Io is saying that Raquel is lying about the time she testified to have entered the penthouse, or maybe both are lying. At this point, almost nothing would surprise me. There's also the issue with Io saying that he called the police right after the call with Amber disconnected. Aside from the time inconsistency, we know that statement isn't true either. According to his own records, you can see the 911 call at 3:16 a.m. GMT, which logs 911 calls. That time, of course, translates to 11:16 p.m. Eastern Time and 8:16 Pacific. But as you can see, it wasn't the first call Io made after the call disconnected. Before that, he called Amber twice and Raquel once. Now let's move on to the second mystery 911 call.
Now you see why, well, the first thing he said, now we testified, oh, I called Raquel. And then Raquel tried to say she got a text from Amber.
Weird thing about this one is, nobody has testified that it happened at all. That's odd, isn't it? Nobody claimed it or even mentioned it, as if they didn't want anyone to know it occurred. In fact, Io, Amber, and Raquel testified that only Io called 911 that night. So that's 3 lies under oath right there. Also worth noting is that even though Io's 911 call was the only one any of them testified to have occurred that night, it was instead this mysterious 911 call that was submitted as proof to receive the temporary restraining order days later. Now, why use the mystery call, but not Io's? More on that in a bit. Part of Io's tweets about the topic included a first name for this mystery caller, Lauren. He claimed that once he called 911, he was afraid that by calling from New York, the police might drag their feet. He didn't call Liz Mars, a friend of Amber's who was also there that night, or Josh Drew, Raquel's then-fiancé who lived with her rent-free in Johnny's Penthouse 1. No, he called Lauren. So who is Lauren? Well, it didn't take much digging to find the top candidate, and it always helps when you have so many smart cookies hanging out on Twitter, so believe me when I say this ain't all me. Lauren Shapiro, a good friend of Io, shot to the top of the list. She is from San Francisco, where a number Io called is located. Another clear giveaway is that she has been subpoenaed in this case. Note, on her subpoena, she is represented by Anya Goldstein, the same Amber-funded attorney provided to other witnesses on her side of the case. If it's safe to assume Io is naming Lauren Shapiro as the mystery caller, then we have more lies being added to.
Now, remember again, now think about how Io accused Brian of being a liar and being full of shit. And now look what we heard in that deposition today. Now he's bringing up all these people. Well, I couldn't call my good friend because I knew she was there and all this other shit. I think Brian's coverage of this and what he's done here forced IO to go testify what IO has now testifying to. Because before she was saying that Brian was full of shit, remember?
To the pile. Let's see how many. For the record, I don't believe the caller is Lauren, but we'll get to that. The first lie we run into, if the caller is indeed Lauren, are the lies being told to the 911 operator. Again, if it's Lauren, she lied about who gave her the information, saying it was Amber who told her over the phone when we're being told it was IO who relayed the information. There's also the difference in information given between the 911 calls. IO's not so immediate first call gave specific details like it was her husband and that she was hit in the face with a phone. Details that were clearly verbalized by Amber, which I still find odd, by the way, that after she claimed Johnny very intentionally threw a phone directly at her face, she still felt the need to narrate and yell something along the lines of, "I've been hit in the face with a phone," but I digress. But the biggest lie told to the 911 operator, if this is Lauren, is that she said she was in the Eastern Columbia building where the alleged assault took place. Let's figure that one out. We know the call was made at 8:27 p.m. Where was Lauren at 8:27 p.m. on this night? She was hanging with friends at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery for a screening of Silence of the Lambs, where doors opened at 6:45 for the 8:30 screening. And we know she was already settled in, closely surrounded by hundreds of other people well before the screening began. We know this because this is a graph of sunrise and sunset in Los Angeles on May 21st, 2016. As
See what I mean? Brian don't play.
you can see, while it plays through the day, sunset was at 7:52, with complete darkness easily before 8:08 p.m. And here we see Lauren and friends already set up in the crowd well before sunset. So why don't we hear the crowd, the friends, the movie? Why lie to a 911 operator about your proximity to the alleged assault, saying that you were downstairs in the building at the time? This leads me right into who I truly believe this mystery caller is, Raquel Pennington. Let's start with a few audible similarities, like these.
Yes, 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 yes,
Yes.
Amber, Amber's Amber.
Amber.
A woman.
A woman.
Then there's the information that the caller was in the building, which we know Raquel was. Assuming it's Raquel means that she lied, claiming Amber told her over the phone she was being assaulted and not that she was there in person with Amber during or shortly after. You see, Raquel testified that after the alleged assault and after Johnny stormed out of Penthouse 3, Amber told her that she thinks IO called the cops because she yelled for him to do so. Raquel told Amber she would verify what IO did. This actually proves another lie told by Amber when she texted Johnny a few days later, telling him she didn't know why the cops came. But if she told Raquel that IO called the cops and Raquel verified that the cops were on the way, well, that makes it a lie, doesn't it? She also claimed that's the only reason she called her divorce attorney that night for guidance. Raquel testified she didn't remember if she called IO or vice versa, but according to IO's records, he called IO and just 3 minutes before the second mystery 911 call was made. There was no mention in this conversation about asking someone else to call 911. That's why Raquel had to pretend to be someone else and remain anonymous. If everyone found out she knew IO already called 911 but then still called 911 herself, well, it just adds more fuel to the hoax fire, in my opinion. And if IO was concerned that his call wasn't going to get the police there quick enough, why was that not discussed during this conversation with Raquel, giving someone there at the scene the opportunity to call? Well, I think that's exactly what this phone call did. You see, Amber testified she doesn't really remember when she called her lawyer, Samantha Spector, that night. Was it before the police arrived? After? Who knows? Not to ignore how odd it is that she had her divorce attorney on speed dial so soon after the alleged assault, but the fact remains she was called for guidance that night. According to multiple testimonies and a statement from an attorney from Depp, Adam Waldman, phone calls were also made to Amber's publicist, Jody Gottlieb, and her makeup artist, Melanie Iglesias. I'm going to describe a potential scenario and back it up with testimony and facts. After Johnny left Penthouse 3, Amber, Raquel, and Josh all gathered in Penthouse 1. Amber had just been told Johnny wanted a divorce, and she was angry and panicking. She gets on the phone with Samantha Spector, who guided her and her friends through what needed to happen next in order to get the upper hand in the impending divorce. Amber explained IO was calling the police, but with what details? Details are hard to fake. The very specific injury of getting hit in the face with a phone when you in fact did not get hit in the face with a phone is difficult to fake, especially when time is of the essence. IO had called and told Raquel that he told the 911 operator that very detail, and that the police were on the way. From here, Raquel was instructed, likely by Amber with the guidance of her lawyer, to call in an attempt to undo the details given by IO and keep it vague and simple. This is why the caller, who I believe is Raquel, doesn't seem urgent, like she's saving a life, but rather annoyed that she has to cover up IO's potential mistake by saying she would like to report an assault that's happening. Allow me to sidestep and add some context to this seeming resentment between Raquel and Io. There was definitely some bad blood, and it goes all the way back to Amber and Johnny's wedding ceremony on Johnny's private island in February of 2015. Several of Amber's friends and a few of Johnny's spent the weekend together on the island as they prepared for the wedding. According to the testimony of one of those friends of Johnny, Josh Richmond, Amber, her sister, and her friends spent much of the weekend inebriated and drugged out. He testified that the day before the wedding, Io physically assaulted Raquel during an argument essentially over who was going to be the lead planner for Amber. After Io beat up Raquel, he was at the bar describing how Raquel was hysterical about the planning and how she was crying and carrying on, and he was laughing and gloating about assaulting her. As a result, Io was given the nickname I Slap Rocky based on the
you know, the very, I was just so worried, and I just, I can't believe it happened. Literally assaulted Rocky and was laughing and gloating about it,
about assaulting her. As a result, Io was given the nickname
because he cared.
I Slap Rocky based on the rapper A$AP Rocky. Io seemed proud of the new nickname and found it hilarious, as many of the wedding guests, including his girlfriend, would refer to him as I Slap Rocky for the rest of the weekend. This pride about physically assaulting someone you care about reminds me of an article I read where the writer said, "No person ever should suffer violence at the hands of a person they love," adding, "We say domestic violence is bad. We condemn it, but as a culture, we create the most fertile breeding ground for it to thrive." If only I could remember the author of it. Oh yeah, it was Io, in his Refinery 29 article where he claimed Johnny was the abuser and the world shouldn't be silent about it. This wasn't the only time Io expressed his dislike and resentment towards Raquel and the ongoing competition as to who would be Amber's top caregiver, but that's for the next video. Back to the scenario. While on the phone with Amber's lawyer, the group was not only advised on what to do about the police, but also each were instructed to write down what they said happened, so this could later be applied to potential declarations. This writing was something Raquel claimed she likely still had when she sat for the first half of her deposition in June 2016. But then, shucks, wouldn't you know it, couldn't find it to show them when she came back for the second half of her deposition in July. Of all the darn luck. Even though Amber wanted to make sure the police were on their way, and Io, the second caller who I believe is Raquel, and the rest of the group insisted the police come, Amber still declined to give a statement per advice of her counsel. All that was needed to apply pressure and increase the chances of getting a DVRO was to get the police to arrive in response to a report of physical assault. The police coming wasn't a surprise. It was expected, and it was leverage. Nobody was shocked they arrived. Josh Drew was actually waiting in the hall to greet them and tell them it's all under control and send them on their way without seeing Amber because remember, details are hard to fake, but at least they could say that the police had to show up because of assault. When they insisted on seeing Amber, Josh went into Penthouse 1, leaving the police officers outside. The officers could hear talking going on behind the door. They knocked multiple times and insisted that Amber come out. They weren't going away. Amber, while on the phone with her lawyer, was told she would have to talk to them, but was told to not give a statement, again because details. The hope was to use the mere fact that the police came.
And do you remember? Hold on a minute. Do you remember Dr. Laurel Anderson? Remember she testified as there was a therapist, and remember Amber Heard asked her this question. She says, directing your attention to the last snippet from that session, will she have advantage if she leaves him but files with police for abuse first? Was that the question she asked you? Yes. This was her talking out loud, trying to strategize for herself. Full stop.
To further their attempts at getting a DVRO, but when the DVRO was applied for, there was no mention that the police came. Why? Well, that's because the domestic violence trained police officers saw no evidence of a crime nor any injuries to Amber and have since testified to that. And that would have thrown a wrench into their plans to get the DVRO, $50,000 a month, and Johnny's penthouses they lived in. They needed something official, but not too detailed, and certainly not something that could contradict their claims, and they knew exactly where to get it. That's why they used the second call to 911 and not IO's as their proof that an assault was reported and responded to that night. It was vague enough, had the caller making sure to use the blanket term physically assaulted, and had the caller verifying that the operator would indeed send someone up. A call that to this day nobody has testified to even existing. Not IO, not Amber, and not Raquel. Each of them only testifying that IO called 911, a lie under oath that seemed collectively calculated. And if you're wondering how someone could so easily lie under oath, here's a clip of Raquel describing how her declaration for Amber came to be, lying about how she wrote every word of it, flip-flopping between emailing back and forth with Amber's lawyers about it or dictating it for them in person, only to eventually have Amber's lawyer, not her own, step in to stop the string of lies coming from her.
When you were preparing a declaration in this case, which you signed, did you talk to any other person about the content of the declaration?
I told Joe and Sam what I was going to declare, which was on that legal form that had to be filled out. So those two people knew that I was going to declare this. My understanding was they had to file it because they are the lawyers. So they knew my declaration. I was in no way instructed. I wrote down everything from my original writing of the night that it happened.
Very good. When you informed Joe and Sam about what you had written down, how did you do that?
Via email.
Okay. So you sent a series of emails back and forth to Joe and Sam, correct?
No.
Who did you send the emails to?
I signed my document and sent it straight to Sam.
Okay, Raquel, we really need to get to the truth here, and I want to do this as clearly and succinctly as possible.
Absolutely.
You just said that you were in communication with Joe and Sam at some point about your declaration, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When was the first time you were in communication with Joe or Sam?
The first time I was in communication with Sam was when I met her at Jody's home.
Okay.
Oh, now she's met her at somebody's house. Versus, I don't know what you talking about, Willis. It's all me.
Was anything about the declaration discussed?
No.
When was the first time you communicated with Sam about the declaration?
I believe it was Thursday, the Thursday before the court filing.
Okay, tell me what happened.
I wrote down my declaration to them. We were at Joe's office, and I...
Now look, now she's at the lawyer's office writing it down. You wonder how this shit's going for them.
wrote it all down, gave it over to them.
Okay, Joe was there?
Joe was there.
Sam was there?
Sam was there.
You communicated with them, correct?
Yes.
You had written some things on a piece of paper yourself prior to that date?
Yes.
Okay. You discussed with them how those things you had written down would get into your declaration, correct?
Yes.
They then offered to draft the declaration, correct? They prepared the declaration for you?
They showed me the format that you have to write it in, yes.
Okay. When you say they showed you the format, had they drafted, had they taken what you wrote down prior and turned it into a draft?
No.
You drafted the document you filed with the court?
I verbally drafted every word.
Oh hell! Now we've gone from all. Look at all this. Look at how much shit you got to shovel to try and get to just one answer. Now it's she verbally.
So you dictated that to somebody?
Yes.
And you dictated to somebody, I, Raquel Rose Pennington, declare as follows?
Blair,
No.
I prepared it. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just harassing her.
I mean,
For the record, I'm by no means harassing
Well, your
her.
voice got very loud.
I'm
so-
asking her for truthful answers, and I don't appear to be getting them.
Guys and gals, I want to close out by saying the truth isn't difficult. It shouldn't muddy the waters or raise more questions. If told in its entirety from the beginning, the truth should make things abundantly clear. That is, of course, if the truth is on your side. But I don't think clarity is what was wanted here. Things like the police showing up and what they saw or didn't see after investigating the scene, or the fact that there was a second mystery call to 911 didn't help their case, or the fact that there were audio tapes of Amber confessing to abusing Johnny, so they just left those pesky little details out. We were shown bits and pieces cobbled together in the hopes people would buy into it and not ask any more questions, because shame on you for doing so. They say the truth will set you free, but in this case it appears that the truth is causing the walls to close in little by little. Thank y'all so much for watching.
And there you have it. I wanted to show this because we heard from both of them today. Again, this is Incredibly Average. This guy right here, I'm so happy to see this. It should be a ton more. They did such good work, and I just wanted to highlight how IO treated him, because I think it's important that you know, the you know, light is the best disinfectant, so let's shine some on how these people really treated, you know, Johnny Depp fans, and tried to insinuate that they were, you know, they weren't doing things in good faith, or they were paid, or whatever. You know, we've heard it all. Bots. So there you go, and then you got a little Raquel at the end there to kind of highlight just. It's nothing unusual for these people. Got to skate around the truth. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye, guys.